Hello and welcome to Tactical Decisions with Grandmaster Max Dlugy. In this disc I will try to help you make the right decisions when it comes to figuring out the right tactical sequence, give you the ideas necessary to improve your tactical play and the principles that you need to make the best moves in tactical positions. So we start here with a position from a game I had with Nick De Firmian from the 1988 US Championship. And in this position, Nick just played c5 to c4, attacking my queen. Meanwhile, I already attacked his bishop, and you can see that the bishop is trapped. He has no move. So really, it looks like a simple situation where white's going to be a piece up, and he needs to figure out I need to figure out where to place my queen. So to make that decision, I have to go a few moves ahead. I can understand that after I move my queen, black will probably snap this pawn off with the queen of the pawn. I will take off the bishop on e5, and then black will capture the pawn with the rook, attacking my bishop and perhaps attacking my pawn on e4. So with that in mind, I have to figure out what is the best place for my queen. Now I played the move queen g3, which looks like a very natural move, because my queen is where the pawn can't attack it once it takes, and perhaps if black takes, I can take the bishop, black will take the pawn, and then my bishop will move away. Of course, then I lose the e-pawn. So it's actually not that clear why I played the move queen g3. Although, of course, I saw that my pawn on e4 would be hanging, so I had an idea. But in fact, in this position, white has another possibility for the queen move. In fact, many possibilities for the queen move, but objectively the best move here was the move that protects the e-pawn immediately without getting black to take the g-pawn with the tempo. Of course, queen f3 would do that, but after pawn takes pawn, white's queen would be attacked. So the best move here was actually queen c2, and you can get to this move if you understand the nature of the tactics of the position. Basically, the bishop is the bishop is trapped in any case, and so it looks like black will take the pawn, and the bishop will in this way be saved. Of course, if pawn takes pawn now, queen takes bishop, I can take this pawn on d6, but black can capture on d5. So let's take a look. Pawn takes bishop, queen takes bishop, pawn takes pawn, and now black has the strong counter sack pawn takes pawn, after which he'll have a lot of pawns for the knight. So after queen g4, the way to figure out this position is to look further and to see how you can improve your position before taking the bishop. And once you realize that this is the challenge, you will easily find the move rook f2, which threatens to improve the position with rook g1, kick the queen away from our bishop on g5, and then take the bishop on e5. And after rook f2, black is helpless in all cases. He can try moves like f6, but that doesn't help black's bishop any, and after white kicks away this annoying queen with rook g1, for example, queen h3, rook g3, finally kicking it away, white can simply move the bishop, and you can see that with the next move, white will capture the bishop and will have a winning position. So other moves on after rook f2 could really be only if black decides to give up the bishop as a desperado, sacrifice bishop takes pawn, but clearly white is winning after the simple rook takes bishop, and basically the next idea is to kick the queen away from this aggressive square. So let's say if the queen goes to h3, in this case white will simply offer the exchange of queens, and again with a winning position. So really a very simple sequence of events could have transpired if I simply played queen c2, protecting the pawn on e4 immediately. I had another idea. I played queen g3, and now, of course, my opponent, he wants to keep aggressive. He wants to keep the queens on, in the hope that he will have a lot of compensation for his piece. But actually, queen takes pawn was not a bad attempt at trying to draw the game. After queen takes pawn, of course, I can't take the bishop because the pawn on e4 is hanging, so I have to trade. And after fe, rook e5, bishop f4, rook e4, knight c3 probably is the best to defend the pawn on d5, and after rook d4, it's actually not so easy for white to win here. For example, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, knight takes d5, knight takes b5, and after, say, the move rook e4, white really has to find the best move here, and it's not that easy. So really, if I went for this position, I would have to find exact moves here, and it's not easy. As it turns out, white has a tactical solution to this position, but it's really the only one. And to see this ahead of time would be extremely difficult, because obviously black has a lot of threats and white has a lot of possibilities. So the right move here is rook fd1, attacking this knight, and only after the knight goes to e3, white has an excellent move, rook e1, and the bishop on a2 is immune because white will play knight c3. And in fact, white will coordinate his pieces now, and since he still has a nearly decisive material advantage with the bishop for only 2 pawns, he should win the game. But again, finding a move like rook fd1 ahead of time is very difficult. So if black went for this continuation, he would have some reasonable drawing chances. But my opponent is a very aggressive player, and he thought that he'll just get a lot of compensation for his piece after pawn takes pawn. Again, perhaps he simply assumed that I will take the bishop and he will take the pawn. And of course, in this case, white's advantage is much smaller, because after, say, bishop f6, knight h5, or even rook takes pawn, for example, rook takes pawn probably has more chances for black, since it takes a pawn, although the bishop on f6 is quite strong. Queen g2, black could play, for example, rook e3, white plays knight g3 to stop this knight, and you can see that white still has an advantage, but the position is quite complicated because white still needs to get the bishop on a2 into the game, and although the bishop on f6 is quite strong, black can try to neutralize it with his knight, and really, you know, the material situation is even. Black has 3 pawns for the piece, so it's hard to claim a decisive advantage at this point. So of course, when I played queen g3, I actually had in mind something else. I had in mind the idea that I have an extra move to protect the pawn on e4, because the bishop on e5 is not actually going anywhere. So here I played a very good move, queen g2. So if we go back to the initial position, we'll see that the idea that white employed is the same, protecting the pawn on e4. So queen c2 was the best move. Queen g3 followed by queen g2 was the second best move, the second best idea in the position. But of course, to play queen c2, you have to see this quiet nuance, rook f2. So in this case, the quiet nuance move is queen g2, the way that I played it. In the best case scenario, if you had made the best tactical decision in that position, you would have to see the move rook f2. So I think if I made the parallel, that I would still have to play an in-between move before capturing the bishop on e5, I would be able to see that the in-between move doesn't have to be the one that protects e4, it could be the one that protects the bishop on g5, and then I would have found it. I didn't make that connection, and therefore I did not make the best move, and the game went beyond what it went further and was more complicated to win than it should have been. So the lesson here is to make the connections, to weigh them, and then make the best decision. So let's see what happens here. Of course, if black tries to play f6, white could play bishop h4, for example, and after g5, pawn takes bishop, pawn takes bishop, pawn takes on f6, white is threatening f7, he's going to win back the piece. Clearly this is not any better than to just leave that bishop on e5 hanging. So black improves his position with knight h5, I take on e5, and black takes with the rook on e5. So now white's basic plan is to exchange pieces, and of course to bring in this bishop from a2 where it's dormant to play. So we'll see how that happens. It's quite simple. In fact, black does not have enough, not only because he only has 2 pawns, but because he really can't get his pieces like the knight on c7 active. So I'm happy to exchange the ones that are active, and I play bishop f6, black takes, I take back, rook e8, attacking the pawn on e4, I simply protect it with knight g3. And now all that remains is to bring this bishop into play. Let's see how that happens. After knight g3, rook e7, rook f1, black tries to get his knight into the game with knight e8, rook f4, knight g7, the knight is crawling back, but it's too little too late, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and step 1, my bishop makes the first move, protects the pawn on e4, rook g5, queen d2, x-raying the rook on g5, the rook goes back. Step 2, the bishop starts crawling out a little bit more with bishop c2. Knight h5, trying to get rid of the protection of the e4 pawn. I don't mind to exchange pieces, so knight takes knight, rook takes, queen g2, attacking the pawn on g4. And black decides that it's time to just get active on the queen side. Of course, white can win many different ways, but the easiest is to finally bring the bishop to bear in black's position. So I play bishop d1, rook g5, bishop takes pawn, queen e8, queen f2, preparing for the final attack, c3, I take on c3, and break through with bishop e6. So the bishop made this nice maneuver and ends up delivering the final blow. After bishop e6, black of course can't take with the pawn because rook f8 simply wins, so rook takes bishop, I just handle with rook f7, threatening to play rook f8. And instead of resigning, black decides to play rook f6. I take it, queen takes e4 check, queen f3, queen takes d5. Of course, everything wins here, but the simplest is rook takes pawn. Since the rook cannot move as it's defending the queen on d5, and black resigned. So as we saw in this game, in tactical position, the best decision may not be automatic. At first, you need to discover the key to the position. In this case, it was the weak pawn on e4, and it needed protection for me. And once I found this idea, I went for it, but it turned out to be that there was a stronger way of carrying this idea out with in one move rather than two moves with queen c2. And it would be a shame if that's not a move you would even consider in your list of candidate moves. So make a list of candidate moves, figure out the ideas, and then carry them out. So let's take a look at another game.
This is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for onlinechesslessons.net. First of all, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to receive more free chess videos from us, you can just click the subscribe button below. I would also highly recommend signing up for my free mail course, the 10 Grandmaster Secrets to Dominate Chess. During this exclusive course from onlinechesslessons.net, I'll share with you my own Grandmaster shortcuts to effective attacking, defending, and growth hacks to improving your chess without complicated books or memorization. So sign up by clicking the sidebar on the right, and I know you won't be disappointed. Once more, this is Damian for onlinechesslessons.net, and I'll see you in my videos. Thank you.